Ship-a-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Good morning to you, and welcome to your favorite daytime talk show, Everything's Fine. I'm your host, Chip Chipperson. I got a hot cup of joe. Let's go and get on with the show. We've got a good one for you today. Up first is a very special guest, a polar bear. Let's give it up for a polar bear. What? There are no more polar bears. They've gone extinct. Already? Okay, no polar bear, no problem. They were kind of overrated anyway. R.I.P. polar bears. Up next, we are going to throw it to our reporter in the field, Janet Wassernaim, out in Scobeyville, California, for the latest on gross fermented beverages. Hey Janet, what you got for us? Alrighty then, Janet needs some medical attention, it looks like. And Scobeyville, I guess, burnt down. Cool, seems like we should have had that one on our radar. You guys, no problem, everything's fine. I'm Chip Chipperson. Moving on, we're gonna check in on our feel-good story of the day, the race for the cure in Mumbai. Let's take a peek how things are going. Oh, wow, so the street is melting. That can't be good. That's gonna be a long race. Really, you guys, did we do any research on these stories before we went on air today? Come on, this is amateur hour. We're talking about factory farms and we're talking about climate change on this episode of The Rotten Truth. Climate change. Unless you've been living underneath the rock, this is likely a term that you are familiar with. But to be sure that we're all on the same page, here's what climate change is.
As the sun's rays reach the Earth's surface, some are absorbed and re-emitted as heat. Greenhouse gases, such as water vapor and carbon dioxide, absorb and re-radiate some of this heat. Increased amounts of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere mean more heat is trapped, warming the Earth. Human activities, especially the burning of fossil fuels, have increased concentrations of atmospheric carbon dioxide by 40%, mainly since 1900. Global average surface temperature has increased by 0.8 degrees Celsius over that time. Other changes to the climate in recent decades can be seen in the warming of the oceans, a rise in sea level, decreasing snow and ice cover in the northern hemisphere, and a decline in sea ice in the Arctic. If emissions continue unchecked, then further warming of 2.6 to 4.8 degrees Celsius would be expected by the end of this century. Even at the low end, this would have serious implications for human societies and the natural world.
Yes, the term climate change often conjures up images of hellscapes, Armageddon, and maybe most importantly, no more luxurious Miami nights. Because it's going to be underwater. Indeed, climate change is likely the existential crisis of our lifetimes. Man-made greenhouse gases are often associated with fossil fuel corporations, planes and trains and automobiles, and mouth breathers. But what about our food? Could what we are eating be a serious contributor to our changing climate? Without action, by 2030, the livestock sector could take up to 49% of the greenhouse gas budget allowable if we want to limit warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Animal agriculture contributes to greenhouse gas emissions in the following ways. Deforestation. Forests and trees store carbon. When they are decimated or completely cleared by fire, for instance, this stored carbon has the potential to be released back into the atmosphere as carbon dioxide and contribute to climate change. Additionally, when we burn down jungles or mangrove forests, we take away their potential to sequester carbon or pull it out of the atmosphere. That is one of the ways that animal agriculture contributes to greenhouse gas emissions. Next, cows burp a lot. And let's face it, burping is hilarious. Cow burps are not as humorous.
Really? That was rude, sir.
Okay, that was actually pretty cute. But for real, all of those admittedly adorable cow burps contain a greenhouse gas called methane. Over a 100-year period, the global warming potential of methane is 28 times greater than carbon dioxide. That is a potent burp. And the fecal matter from all factory farmed raised animals contains nitrous oxide, a greenhouse gas that is up to 300 times more potent than carbon dioxide. Factor in the transport of animal products, all the energy needed to power factory farms, and all of this adds up to be about 15 to 17% of global greenhouse gas emissions. About the same as every plane, train, automobile, the entire transportation sector combined. This makes animal agriculture one of the top 5 contributors to global greenhouse gas emissions. Yet major climate conventions like COP26 make almost no mention of the impact that animal agriculture is having on our climate. Thus far, governments more or less have refused to act. Now, why might that be? Why aren't our legislators regulating this destructive industry? I'm drawing a blank here. It's right on the tip of my tongue. This is a real brain buster. Oh wait, it's money. It's always money. Factory farms have so much money and are able to influence policy in such a meaningful way that up until this point, our government has done little to nothing to regulate factory farms and how they are destroying our planet. But you and I, we know better. We know that every single day we have the choice to choose foods that are better for our climate. And experts around the world tell us that a shift in our eating is vital. Researchers from the University of Oxford say that in order to keep climate change under 2 degrees, US citizens need to eat 90% less beef and pork, 60% less milk and poultry, and 50% less egg. Project Drawdown is an organization that consists of dozens of leading climate scientists from around the world. New research from them shows that individual actions, when performed at scale, can drive 25 to 30% of the global emission reductions needed to avoid the worst of climate change. Choosing a quote-unquote plant-rich diet and reducing food waste are 2 of the highest impact individual actions. This proves that there is great power in what we do or don't decide to put on our plates. Next time we reach for a cow burger, let's ask ourselves, what would the polar bears have us choose? We are Factory Farming Awareness Coalition, here to tell you what the climate-altering meat and dairy corporations do not want you to know.